we will incorporate this in our own application. So you can fully expect us to, obviously, every product of Microsoft will have some of the same AI capabilities to completely transform the product. Let me just kind of give you two anecdotes and then try to generalize it. On New Year's Day this year, I just looked in my news feed and I saw this tweet that Andrej Karpathy, who is who was the guy at Tesla who did the autopilot, tweeted saying 80% of the code he writes today is being written by GitHub Copilot. Think about this, right? This is one of the most elite AI developers who is saying that they're being that much more productive. It's not that Andrej is not doing great AI work. It's just that he's getting a ton of leverage. And that's perhaps been the breakthrough product of this generation of AI in the last year. And it's a real product. It's not some research project somewhere, what have you. I mean, this is literally changing the productivity curve for some of the most, for software engineers, which was considered the knowledge worker, or rather the most sort of difficult to automate knowledge work, so to speak. And so that's one. Then the next day I was in India and I saw this demo, which was just completely stunning for me. I saw someone use one of the Indian vernacular languages, talking to a bot that Microsoft Research, along with our partners from the Ministry of Electronics, and a program called Bhashini, which is about trying to basically use AI to get language translation to be democratized in India. But so here's essentially someone who is in rural India using one of their of a local language, talking to a bot on WhatsApp, and this bot, basically this person wanted to have access to some government program. And so he asks about the program. The bot comes back and says, you should go to the portal and do X, Y, and Z. And he then goes on to say that, look, I don't want to go to the portal, just do this for me. And so this is someone in rural India, sort of expressing a pretty complex thought, even if they may not be all literate about how to navigate some complex set of instructions. And then on the back end of it, what the team had done was used GPT to essentially train over all of Government of India's documents and made it accessible in every Indian language and made it automatable. So think about this. I'd never seen in my life, at least in the 30 years I've been in tech, ever a demo where an advance that happened in, say, West Coast to the United States shows up in very real terms for someone in rural India within months. I mean, that is diffusion of technology that I've never seen. I don't think it happened in the Industrial Revolution, but maybe this time around, in what is sort of the knowledge worker equivalent of the Industrial Revolution, it's going to help everybody. So these two things, so the most elite AI developer on one end, and on the other end, there is a rural farmer in India being able to access government programs through AI. So those two anecdotes speak to me at least what the power of this thing is.
Are we at the early stage of a curve that's rapidly going to change in the next few years, and we're going to see this kind of exponential development?
I think that's the key. So what you just said was, why is there so much more excitement this year than last year? Is because of that exponential growth of the power of these models. I'm not claiming, by the way, that this is the last innovation in AI or this is the last model architecture. There's going to be lots more to come. But if you look at what has happened between GPT-3 to 3.5 to what comes next, these are not linear areas. This is not linear progress.
Okay, but the slightly pessimist case, you're an optimist on this, would be it's exciting, it's rapidly moving, it's a bit terrifying. Knowledge workers, I heard it already here at Davos this week, already anxious in some ways about their future jobs and what it means. when you see technology spread on that scale, I have to ask, one, are we societally ready for that? And are you really confident that there's the optimist case that it enhances all of our productivity rather than replaces many of us?
It's the right question to ask. I mean, look, the first thing I step back and say, when I look at all productivity data, I look at all economic growth data, I sort of look at that and say, God, we need something to help us. It's not like we're, as a world, growing at inflation-adjusted 3-4%. If we really have the dream that the 8 billion people plus in the world, their living standards monotonically should keep improving year over year, what is that input that's going to cause that? Like what, we need, and we have some tough challenges, right? When you think about energy transition, let's just take that for an example. Essentially what we are saying, at least the way I, as a layperson understand it, is you got to take 250 years of chemistry and compress it into some 25 years so that we can then make it to the other side. If that is the case, computational chemistry is going to be super important. And so applications of AI to that is probably the way we're going to make it. So I look at it and say, we need something that truly changes the productivity curve so that we can have real economic growth. And then if you have that, there are all kinds of things that we can talk about, which is what does it mean to displacement, which will be real. After all, there was displacement in the Industrial Revolution. We went through some lot of hardship to come up with even an understanding of how to deal with it. This time around, we have that understanding. So therefore, I would say, first, let's not fall into what is the lump of labor fallacy. If you don't fall for that, then what are all the new jobs? What is the training required? And here's one other thing I'd say, Matt, which if you think about the way frontline workers today are being enabled with technology to be able to do what was previously perhaps considered knowledge work, is probably the biggest thing that is underreported, underwritten about. Then, we have at Microsoft a tool called Power Platform, right? So think of it as what is essentially it's Excel level skills at best, even lower, where you can take that tool and create applications, create workflows. In fact, you can use GPT to essentially prompt a workflow. So that means somebody who's in the retail frontline, warehouse frontline, healthcare frontline, pick your favorite frontline job, where they're not IT specialists, they're not skilled in computer science, they can in fact participate in the digital transformation of their org. If they do that, what happens next is better wages, because they're now considered to be not just doing frontline work, but are also participating in what was previously knowledge work. So to me, that's an example of, in fact, people participating in the labor force with better support.